Okay. Rule number 1. We should not have any problems with rule number 1 because rule number 1 just says anything that's a number counts. Is everybody okay with that rule? So I gave you 3 different examples. Anytime you have a number 1 through 9 in your measurement, when you get ready to round, you're going to look back at all your numbers and you're going to say, oh, okay, well, that's a number, that's a number, that's a number. So all 3 of those count. So how many sig figs are here? 3. This is a number and this is a number, so they both count. So this measurement has how many sig figs? 2. This is a number, this is a number, this is a number. Again, they're all numbers. They all count. So this measurement has 3. Right, so that's first rule. Everybody's good with first rule. Second rule. Second rule has to do with those zeros in between, right? This one's pretty simple. It does not matter how many zeros you have between. If you have 1 0 between 2 numbers, he counts. If you have 3 zeros and they are between 2 numbers, they all count. So this one would have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 significant figures. It doesn't matter if there's a decimal in the middle. See how this one has a decimal, but there's still 3 zeros together? Doesn't matter. They're still between 2 numbers, so they all count. These guys, 3 zeros again, comma, decimal, it doesn't matter. They are between 2 numbers, so all of those zeros count. So this one would have 3 significant figures. This one has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 significant figures. And then that bottom one has 5 significant figures as well. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Everybody okay with that rule? Thumbs up, we're okay? Rule number 3. This is the one, 3 and 4, okay? Please pay attention to this. This is the one that messes kids up because the decimal in the number freaks kids out a little bit when you're trying to count sig figs. So this is what I tell kids. Placeholder zeros, which are the ones in the front, are never counting. You will never count them. The best thing to do is just draw a line right through them. For example, we'll go with pencil. When you get a number that's got a bunch of zeros in the front and you're trying to count sig figs, the best thing to do is just draw a line through them. That way there is no chance of you even thinking about counting those. So that's what you've seen me do right here. All the zeros in front. They're called placeholders, leading, preceding. They're all in the front. Even this one behind the decimal. Even though in math, that 0 is important, right? It's a placeholder for the decimal. For rounding in science, we don't give a rat's hind end about it. We do not count them. So we just draw a line. Bam, bam, bam. And then follow your normal rules. So for example, this 9 would count. Does this 0 count? Why? It's between. Very good. And then this one counts. So here we have 1, 2, 3 sig figs. Here, the 2 counts, the 3 counts, so 2 sig figs. Here, the 9 counts, the 2 counts. Do these 2 zeros? Yes, they're between 2 numbers, so we count them. So this one would have 1, 2, 3, 4 sig figs. Right? That's the ones in the front. The zeros in the back are with rule number 4. They're called trailing zeros. And it says they are at the end of the number, and these zeros count only if there is a decimal anywhere in that measurement. So the first thing I'm going to do is ask myself, do I see a decimal? When you see zeros at the end of a number, right? Whether there's a decimal, a bunch of zeros, 1 0, 20 zeros, when you see zeros at the end, ask yourself, do I see a decimal? Right here, do you see a decimal? No. So that 0 can't count. So this one would have 1 sig fig. Right here, do you see a decimal? Then these zeros would count. So this one would have 3 sig figs. Here, do you see a decimal? Guys, pay attention. Ask me a question if you have one. If you don't see a decimal, that trailing 0 cannot count. So here has 1 sig fig. So here has one with a bunch of stuff. It's got a bunch of stuff going on. We've got a 1, which would count. We've got 2 zeros that are in between, right? They're in between the 1 and the 3. So between zeros always count. Then you've got some trailers. There's trailers back here. Do you see a decimal anywhere? Yes, I see a decimal right here. So they count. So this measurement has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6. SF stands for sig figs. Here, oh my gosh, I've got 5 zeros together. 5 zeros. Do you see a decimal? Yes, because this decimal is there, they all count. So kids like to do some weird stuff when they see that decimal. Instead of just focusing on all of those zeros count. You don't have to do some weird, okay, well, these count because they're behind the decimal, but these don't because they're in front of it. No, none of that. They're all together. They all count if there's a decimal. So this one has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Here, oh, I don't know what I did on that one. Oh, add some numbers. I left these out. Add these in. Oh, you can't see that. My bad. Here. Add these in your notes on that page. It's 0, 2, 0, 0. You see that? 0, 2, 0, 0 at the end. So this one has all 3 types of zeros, right? I like to throw you an example that has all 3 types so that you can see what to do. So first off, I'm going to notice, do I see a decimal? Yes, there is a decimal, which means this one and this one would count. These are my trailers. Does the 2 count? Yes. Zeros between 2 numbers? Yes. The 3? Yes. Zeros in the front? Never. Never. Those never count. So this one has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 sig figs. Right? So now you have a practice sheet that I gave you that looks like this. So what you're going to try to do now, we're going to do a couple of together so I can show you what I want you to do. And then you're going to go through and try to work some of these on your own. And I'm going to come around and help you.